Unit 4, Part 9, we're up to discussing the logical form of only if. First I'm going to give you the rule, and then, following Klenk on page 60, I will give you an example of an English sentence using only if, which will allow you in, say, a pressure exam situation when you won't have time to look everything up, which will allow you to discern from your own understanding of the English sentence what the logical form of only if is. Right? So it's going to be example, the lottery example, on page 60, which is for you to be able to discern from your own understanding of that English sentence what the logical form of only if is in general, such that when you're presented with an English sentence using only if, where it's not so clear what the logical form is, you'll be able to use the rule, which you'll remember or derive from the example. We'll talk also about unless, which is tricky. Unless, which the rule is just going to be you can translate that as if not, which you can then read the logical form just of those off those words, if not, right? You know what symbols they get, the hook and the tilde. But on following Klenk on page 63, we will use the lottery example, a different lottery example, where again, it's a English sentence using the word unless, where you will be able to discern correctly the logical structure of the sentence, and then use the rule you've derived for how unless gets translated in an example using of an English sentence using unless where it's not so clear. You'll be able to say, oh, unless, what does it mean for the lottery example? Oh, I see that it means if not, so I'm going to translate unless as if not here and get out the logical form. Okay, so the rule, quite simply, is just, right, when you've got a if B and then a only if B, when it's a if B, the rule is just whatever follows the antecedent, right? Whatever follows the word if is the antecedent, right? So here, so notice that rule is just put in terms of a if B here, but it can be big, long, horrible, ugly thing if other horrible, long, ugly thing. It's just what follows the if, even if it's long and horrible, goes to the left of the hook, right? It's the antecedent of the conditional, right? So a if B, B hook A. The rule for only if is a only if B is A hook B, okay? A hook B, it's different, right? A only if B, so here, the rule for if is whatever follows the if is the antecedent, that's B in that top example. The rule for only if, whatever follows the only if is the consequent, right? Right. Whatever follows the only if is the consequent. So what follows the only if here is B, so, what follows the only if is the B, and that's the consequent over here. That rule also holds if I have, right, only if B, comma A, right? What follows the only if is the consequent. So the consequent's that bit, the bit to the right of the hook. So this is also A hook B, which is as it should be, because this sentence is the same logical form as this, has the same logical form as this sentence. Okay? To convince you of that, here is the lottery example. If I tell you, you will win, actually we'll go through this example using the 1, 2, 3 step procedure, so you'll see an example of, it's a pretty simple example, but an example of how to translate a whole English sentence using the 1, identify and symbolize the simple sentences, 2, identify the major operator, write the symbol down, put the components in their part, and then 3, symbolize the components if you need to do more of that. So this sentence, you'll win the lottery only if you have a ticket, right? Process that for meaning. It's pretty clear that you don't get too excited if I say that. If I say to you, you will win the lottery only if you have a ticket, you're like, yes, thank you, that's so informative. I'm not telling you anything exciting. It wouldn't cause you to go out and buy a lottery ticket because, right, why? In your understanding of it, in processing it, what logical form are you relying on? It's just saying, you will win the lottery. here I am identifying the simple sentence, you will win the lottery, translating it, you will win the lottery, W is you will win the lottery. The other simple sentence is, you have a ticket, abbreviation is T is you have a ticket. So my first step in symbolization, I would replace them, leave the English words that are going to receive symbols in place. Right? So first step in translation is W only if T, right? That's a partial translation, but it's an important first step, right? Now that I've got the simple sentences into letters, I can go ahead and analyze the logical form and focus on getting the logical form right. That is, getting the order right, the symbols right, and the order right, the order of the symbols and the capital letters and so on, right? W only if T, if I tell you, you will win the lottery only if you have a ticket, what I'm really telling you is this, right? If you won the lottery, then you had a ticket, right? That is the meaning of, that is the meaning clear in that example, is the point of this example. That is the meaning of, you will win the lottery only if you have a ticket. Well, thanks, mate. You've just told me, all you've told me is that if I'd won the lottery, then I had a ticket. Right? Not enough to get me to go out. Not enough to get me excited enough to go get me excited enough to go out and buy a ticket. Right? So the point of that example is, from that example, right? If you think that thought in your head, you'll be able to discern from it, because it's clear what that meaning is, that is the correct logical structure. It's clearer if you see how you would easily identify your mistake. If you were to confuse the rule for only if with the rule for if, right? If you were to think to yourself, okay, maybe the translation of this is, okay, this is the mistaken thought. What follows the only if is the antecedent, is that right? So is this the right translation? T, hook, W, right? Well, now this is what you have to do for all translations. Very important to catch mistakes, right? When you've given your symbolization, read it back to yourself. Very important you learn how to read back to yourself the symbols. Make sure the sentence you say now, reading the symbols back, is equivalent in meaning to this sentence. And if it is not equivalent in meaning, your symbolization is false. It's incorrect. What does this say? This says, if I buy a ticket, then I win the lottery. Whoa, that seems to be a much stronger claim than what I originally said to you. You'll win the lottery only if you wear a ticket, right? So the point of this clear, concrete example is to show you how very different in meaning this is from this false translation, right? You would recognize that as wrong, and then you'll probably say, oh yeah, so that's right, only if is different, only if is what follows the only if is the consequent. It's W hook T. Let me read this back. If I win the lottery, then I had a ticket. Oh yeah, that's what it means to say you win the lottery only if you have a ticket. Now you've discerned from pulling this out of your mind in the middle of a stressful exam, you've pulled out the rule, right? W only if T gets translated as W hook T. Yeah. Okay? So compare that to this, right? If I tell you, you will win the lottery if you have a ticket, oh wow, really? If you have reason to believe me, right? Then what are you going to do? You're going to go out and buy a ticket, because I'm telling you that if you have a ticket, then you win the lottery, right? So again, three-step procedure. 1, identify and symbolize, abbreviate the simple sentences. So it's W, leave the English word in place. If T, replace you have a ticket with T, right? Step 2, identify the major operator. There's only one word here, but okay, so you get a sense here for this part of that procedure. Identify the major operator, symbolize that, and put the components in the right place. Now, putting the components in the right place is, right, that going there and this going here, right? W if T, what's the rule? What follows the if is the antecedent, so it's T hook W. It's a bit ugly, but right, it's T hook W. Read it back, right? It says the same thing. So, if I have a ticket, then I win the lottery. You win the lottery if you have a ticket. Yes, that is the same thing. All right, next part we'll do unless.